All right, so let's take a virtual attendance because Meredith is online. Please, Pete, you want to start? Let's go around there.
Peter Michelson, present.
Mike Weber, present.
Michelle Kirkby, present.
Robert Worth, present.
Carolyn Casey, present.
Bob Meany, present.
John Messina present. Leo Brown present.
All right, so missing we have Teresa and Tony, and Bill is also missing currently, but should be here later. What's that? Oh, Meredith, do you mind saying you're here?
Yeah, Meredith Chamberlain, present.
Thank you. All right. Let's do the meeting minutes from the March 6th. Everyone get a chance to review that? Questions, comments, motion?
Looked like a lot of work.
It's fair. I'm glad I'm not doing it. I agree. It was March 6th.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 6, 2024. Second.
Yes. Peter Michelson, yes.
Mike Weber, yes.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Robert Worth, yes.
Carolyn Casey, yes.
Bob Meany, yes.
John Messina, yes. Leo Brown, yes.
Meredith?
Meredith Chamberlain, yes.
All right, great. All right, so that was that. You want to do a communications update and
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about what I sent you while we're at it?
Yes. So we have the Facebook page up, and we talked about the comments last time, so we closed that down. And what we're now working on is making a written update every month. In fact, we're going to meet tonight after this meeting, and then doing the video, the short video. And Michelle gave me some ideas. I got most of those updated. I got the hashtag change. We had a little problem about the password, but I think we have that fixed now. So I think that's going good, and I want to encourage everybody to pass it along to your friends, like we did the survey. To just send a note and say, here, if you're on Facebook and you want to connect to this page, is one other way to find out what we're doing. And unless anyone has seen something on that page that needs fixing, we're going to continue what we're doing with it.
Just another avenue for us to try to get our information.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I was going to talk to my committee tonight about possibly taking the videos because they seem popular, they're short, and putting them on the town website. But I asked Dr. Brittany about that. She posts for the town website. And tonight, during our meeting, Christina asked us to write up a short little paragraph about the warrant article that's going to be presented asking for money.
Mhm.
So if anybody has anything in particular that you might like us to say, just
Do we know what that dollar amount is yet?
650,000.
That was the original. That's what I didn't think there was going to be that much, just based on Steve's comments. But you guys voted
I don't
on
think it's changed. I
Okay.
just had the warrant, vote on the warrant articles last night.
Okay.
Didn't bring them with me.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive that.
Peter's correct. It's 650,000.
Okay, great.
so we haven't discussed it yet, but we're planning to make a few sentences about what we'd use the money for, which part of that is connection to what we discussed tonight.
Yep. I think probably just a bunch of it we'll get into in the next meeting. Minute items.
That's what I think so.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from that. And then the last thing was you did a great job with that letter on whether.
I don't think the whole committee's seen
Yeah,
the
so I
letter.
said,
it. Yeah.
yeah, just to go back, if you don't mind, I sent, Pete did a great job of drafting a brief letter to just the town, based from, it was from him, but it could be from us, we could figure that out. But generally it was then edited a bit by Steve Callahan, sent to me, and I forwarded to the communications subcommittee. I'll get that dropped out to you guys after this. Do we want to review it, do you think? Or
We could show and talk about it. I think the questions I'd have to well, first of all, I think everyone should have a chance to read it and think about it and edit it. And then the question would be, at what point do we want to put it out?
Sure.
I do like it because it has good factual information and it's clear and it sort of shows the process.
I'll send it to everybody right now.
Okay.
My gut tells me that maybe we could talk about it in depth next meeting and then get it out after that. I should have probably sent it out ahead of time. I apologize.
Well,
I kind of wanted you guys to go through it first.
Yeah,
to be honest with
only-
you. I'm not an editor.
it came after we met,
That's fine.
so we would be, we'd be looking at that.
Yes, maybe you guys can talk about it tonight, do some editing. Do you want to maybe then send it out to us? Or do you want
Send
me
it
to send
out with the edits,
Yeah.
and yeah. So part of the big piece though would be, because it's April and it's May 6th, the town meeting, is this something that we were thinking about getting out before town meeting or just getting out in the spring?
I don't think we need, Christine's online, but she can tell us. I don't think we need to vote on it because it could be from the subcommittee, quite frankly, or it could be from you. I don't need to think, we don't all need to take credit for it. But basically the letter is this. The letter is a summarization of Steve's warrant presentation in written. And it's very, it's probably about 3/4 of a page on a Word doc. You guys will all see it, in the next 24 hours. And we want to get it out to maybe the patch, post it on Facebook. And it's basically, and Pete, you jump in here, please, but kind of talks about where the costs were and what we're seeing as where the costs are going. This is what
I tried to, I thought Steve Callahan's presentation was excellent, something I could never do. But the numbers he put forth were, kind of daunting, not to me particularly, but probably to people in this room. But I just don't think we can get this information out to the town soon enough. I think the town needs to be made aware that even if it's the MSBA, there's going to be a sizable tax increase. And if we don't get into the MSBA program, I'm not looking at the letter right now, but it's something like $1,300 on your tax bill, or a little bit more, probably. And that, of course, could go up or down. We don't know. But I thought it's really important to get those rough numbers out there soon. Might not be a bad idea. Well, I can think of reasons to do it before town meeting and to do it after town meeting. So I'm sort of.
Well, one of the things that the committee's been talking about is doing a community forum, right? And just to update where we are.
And as you saw at the end of the letter, I said, I left it blank, but I said our next
Exactly.
community forum is blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm assuming it'll be at the high school, but I don't know. But I think it's important that we start having those and inviting people in the community. I don't know at first how many people will show up, but maybe some will. I hope so, and we can get a dialogue going.
Yeah.
I thought the letter was really well done. I like the idea generally of putting something out to say, hey, look it. And I also think it, just in my own mind, kind of helps support the warrant article because it's no matter what we do, it's going to be a lot of money. And I think every little bit that we can get into a kitty for feasibility study, for hiring architects or OPMs, whatever it may be, helps our cause and helps eventually it progresses toward getting a school, which is valuable.
Right, to let people know. And if we edit it and get it together and people, give their thoughts back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it has to be up before the meeting because we're asking for a piece of money for a specific sort of thing. But around that time or shortly thereafter, and we can use Jeff always, we send stuff out, and any way that we can communicate to a large number of people. Here we are. And here's the things we're thinking about. I mean, we did link Steve's presentation. We linked the video, but I don't know how many people are actually.
That's my thought.
It was about a 40-minute. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You guys know.
It was Steve's, as I started out saying, Steve's presentation was excellent, really good. It's about 40 minutes long, give or take. I don't think a lot of people are going to sit through it. I could be wrong, but I don't think there'll be a lot of people who are going to sit down, click on that. As I say, Steve was excellent, but it requires some real attention to stick with that.
Yes.
Am I right that there is a warrant article that's going to try to take some money and put it aside for the school and whatnot? So this letter prior to town meeting may help with the urgency of passing that particular article.
Very good point.
Well, people would see them now and understand that we're working to try to, or warrant committee and everybody working together to try to like, yeah, I can see that.
I think ahead might
Yeah.
help everything. Might help our article, the 615, might help the other article to begin putting money aside.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm not familiar with the process on a public forum of how to get that letter out. I know that any of us could send something to the patch and, you know what I mean, let it to the editor sort of deal. I don't know if I just sent it to everybody, so you all have it now, at least the draft. I would love some sort of, maybe some feedback to the communications subcommittee, and then, I mean, I'm happy for you guys to if it's too long, make it more succinct. If it's, you know, I think there's some facts and figures in there that we should really, I looked at it briefly, candidly, and it matched what I had in my notes, but I'd like to double check a couple of those things. But generally, I think it's at least to the point of where we're heading.
Right.
And I think, to Bob's point, getting it out before then might be a great idea. Even if we just post it on Facebook at a start, and we can all, you know what I mean, and
Right.
send it out.
So here's a process I could see, is that we will take an initial look, but everybody else, and then I'll send something out to everybody. And then people can, you know, send their ideas, can't talk to each other, but send the idea, and I'll post another meeting for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll make it final. I think, I
That'd be
can't
awesome.
do it tonight.
No, that's fine. No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
But even if you met virtually, just to say, hey, what do we like the final
Yeah,
draft?
and then we'll finalize it, and then we'll begin to distribute it and put it as many places as we can, and or maybe we'll print some copies and pass it out.
Well, that was going to be my next thing, that, you know, if it's appropriate, to have some there on the table on the way in. So, you know, there's however many, hopefully 300-400 people, if that many come, that we get that letter out to. And
Not just
people
that, but those are voters too. Those are people that show up and vote.
And those are the people who
Yeah.
are interested in what's going
Right.
on. So getting that letter in their hands could be very helpful.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I like that idea. All right, so
Just one, I'm sorry. I drafted it to be signed by the school building committee, and that I proposed having our names below it. You all might not, I mean, if you want it to be just the three of you, that's fine. On the
No, I think it should be
communications.
the whole.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it should be from the committee if the committee's comfortable with that. That's obviously a group decision. So if anybody, when they're responding to you all with comments, if people feel strongly, no, I don't want to sign it. One other thing I'll add is last night the select board did vote to approve or sign on to the statement of interest for the MSBA.
Right.
So there was a question about that in the draft. That's now no longer a
Yeah, we
question.
have, right.
That's done.
So look, can we go around and just, Leo, are you okay if I write, school building committee and I list your name?
Yeah, that's fine. If you need a signature, I can send a digital.
yeah, and you can obviously you have the opportunity to read it first. I mean, that's what I said to you, the draft. But I mean, so any comments, please. That's most important. Is if you're gonna sign your name to initiate approval. That's.
And I would probably just type it unless you really want to sign it, but.
That's up to you.
Of
You're
course,
right.
so.
I'm good with it. Okay. Meredith, is that good with you?
Yep, good for me.
That's another way to distribute us as members to
Right.
the town meeting membership. So they can see who they might be able to talk to, email, call, grab on the street, whatever.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, and Pete, I appreciate the proactiveness there. That's really good.
Oh, and tonight, Mike nicely did the interview video with Bill last month, so we will be looking for another person who might want to stay for a couple of minutes and do a quick couple of minute update.
Come on,
Bill
who's
seems
next?
to be our host. He's pretty good at it. So someone will volunteer to do that for a couple of minutes with us when we end tonight.
We can pick.
As everyone looks at the ceiling and
I
looks
know.
away.
Oh my God, the laundry! I left it in
Yeah.
the dryer.
You don't have your good shirt on. You know.
Although it looks very nice.
I'm happy to do it again if no one wants to do it, but I think we should change it up.
You haven't done it, that's true, you haven't done it, Bill did
Right,
you.
Bob,
Bill will do Bob, but next time, I want everyone to know, everyone's gonna take turns.
It was
On
really,
May,
really like
4 minutes per-
less than 2 minutes. It
Yes,
was really good.
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be quick.
it's very, very quick.
Bill asked me
Very
2
short.
questions and I answered them. That was it. So,
Yeah.
All right, is that all we have?
Yes, so,
All right, so that was good. I think that's a good starting place for, especially I like the letter, I like the Facebook page. Thank you. All right, the next one on our agenda is the Future Think update. So good news, we do have a draft final submission. Meredith, you met with Future Think a couple weeks ago, and then we got her email yesterday or the day before in regards to what she's presenting. Any comments from your meeting with her?
No, I think it lasted about a half an hour. It was Jeff Marsden, myself, and her. We were just briefing her on where we are in our process, what we're looking for, why we're looking for this, and then she just kind of gave us a timeline and things that she's going to look at. We also just asked her to, look at data of kids staying, any kids, look at patterns of kids that might be enrolling out. And then she also really focused on the live birth of the younger population. So it was a good conversation. I felt like she understood what we needed and was doing a pretty holistic process.
I'm going to forward the draft that she sent to us. I have another meeting with Tracy on tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Okay. So I'm going to send this to you guys now. Obviously, if you have any questions in the short term, let me know. But I think the final step is for her to just present it to us for 20 minutes, and hopefully I can do that at the next meeting. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So generally, I think it's good news that the data we got back from Future Think is for the draft enrollment for the next 10 years is very similar to the numbers that we already have from this thing. So, right. So it's bad news and good news. It's bad news because there's one particular grade that you'll see that's a large number of children coming into the school, COVID babies, as someone put it. And then that's the bad news because there's one large group of children coming in, which it makes our numbers a bit larger than they are currently. But the good news is that it matches the data we have for the most part. So if we had, 2 huge discrepancies, we'd have to pick something, debate to build a school. Like what number do we want to go off of, sort of deal? You almost need a third at that point. So I'll send that to you guys now. If you do have a chance to look at it before tomorrow morning, by all means, shoot me a note. I'm happy to ask any questions, but I am going to try to get her at our next meeting, just to present to all of us, and even if it's 10 minutes. I think the report is pretty self-explanatory, very similar to Wellesley's.
we want to get her recorded too, so we can post that and people
Okay,
can
cool.
listen to her, because some people won't read reports, but they'll listen to it.
I believe our next meeting is May 8th. Okay, great.
Oh, I think I had May 1st. Yeah, I was thinking May 1st.
No, May 1st.
The first is Wednesday.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was after town meeting. Sorry, you're right.
Okay.
It's fine if you want to make the 8th, but.
No, it's for it is
No,
the first.
no. Just
Okay.
me
So that's
writing my
our
notes.
update. I think it's you'll see it's very I just sent it to you. It's very similar to Wellesley's, and then once she presents it, we can post it on our website as well. is my gut there. Okay. We have a number 4 MSBA update. I got some notes on this. Diane Sullivan, Michael McGurl, and Matt Donovan were polite enough to take a call and a request from us for a meeting, which happened this week. So good news there. It was not a meeting per se. They were just, hey, we're here to answer questions only. What do you got? And so that was a productive half an hour. Questions we asked were things like, what can we do in the next 8 months? You know, what can we be working on the next 8 months before we know about, you know, the next round of towns that get in? That'll be productive. We asked about, you know, your most successful projects in MSBA. You know, what factors, you know, what did they do ahead of time? You know, things of that nature. They were very measured in their responses, and most of the responses that we've got from them were candidly on their website. That said, you know, she did make a point for us to, you know, reread their due diligence process, which was, you know, high level. It's fine. It's pretty much what we're doing. Really, what we did also tell them is that, you know, we're meeting this group here, which is a big step in the right direction as far as getting accepted in. Really what MSBA is looking for is evidence of towns being ready to support a school project. Whether that be community support, financial support, you know, it's not just, you know, the select board or the school committee saying we need a new school, but really there's other people within the community talking about a new school and why we need it.
Just a question. Did you mention that starting this year, the town, well, I don't want to jinx anything, but I assume at town meeting, the town will be putting $900,000
That was mentioned.
into a pot. And
Yep.
were
So she had,
positive response?
yeah,
No response?
so she had a couple of like, again, it was a measured conversation, candidly, but they were very polite to get on the phone with us, and that's all it was a conversation. But yes,
We can't commit
the
to
one,
anything.
yeah, no, there was no commitments whatsoever. But the question was, what have you done to date? And that was brought up as, you know, this is on our warrant article. We've raised $250,000 in 2022, $250,000 in 2023. We're shooting for more. I didn't have the $600,000 number then, so I just said it's on the warrant, but we don't know the number yet. And then we also talked about, you know, the moving of the free cash and things like that. I think it was a $900,000 number to start a stabilization fund to support, you know, the first couple of years of, you know, basically loan payments. You know, so yes, that was mentioned. So all that thing was, you know, it was nice for us to be able to say that we've done so much. Even though I feel like we're only doing so much, it's, you know, but that's just because I'm an anxious person.
Mike, I'm sorry. Who met with you, Matt, and who else was
It
there?
was me, Jeff, Christine, Meredith, Michelle, and Tim Knight.
So 6 people.
And then MSBA had 3 people.
Like when they say like evidence that the town supports it or the residents support it, looking for like monetary evidence, right? Like moving money around, but did they elaborate on like anything else that other towns have done to show that like the town supports it?
It's a really good question.
Can you give an example like that? She said more, it's like, what does your community know? Do they know you need a new school? Do they know you've applied to the MSBA? Do they know what an SOI is? Do they understand that this is happening? She gave some examples of towns that maybe were consolidating elementary schools. Do the residents of your town understand that this is a conversation that you're having and like what the impact might be to them? So it's a little more of those high level things on like, what do your people know and how are you helping them get that information?
Yeah, that's the crux of the issue, right? So evidence that your town is going to support a new school is almost impossible to do without putting a number and a plan in front of them, as far as I'm concerned. right?
Chicken and egg.
Yeah, right. But that said, you know, it came to my mind to do some more community outreach, and I think our subcommittee is doing a good job there, but I think we probably need to do more as a group, and it's probably part of my next agenda item, quite frankly. But yeah, there's it wasn't so specific as like you should raise this much money, nothing like that.
And they didn't say, well, here's something we look for and you didn't have, or here's something that worried us.
It's all very subjective based on who applies that year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How much money they have is up in the air. I know this, at least the city of Boston, at least it's got, major tax problems with less tax revenue coming in. I believe the state's taxes were up in March, year over year, 2.7%. So that's actually a benefit. So it's all about how much money they have and who's applying and the need. They did, I went back and Michelle did a similar study, but back to their website, which I've been on a million times now. There was a 2016, what was that?
School survey.
A school survey where they rate all the schools. Dale Street got a 4 on that school survey, which is the lowest grade.
Yeah.
So that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That number hasn't come up.
I think it's come
Probably
up.
a 3 now.
So that's in our favor, quite
Right.
frankly.
Yeah.
And basically they,
But that was true last December when we got passed over too. So.
that was before the last time we got in 2017. That's correct.
No, but I'm just saying they knew about the poor condition of the school in December of 2023 when we didn't get it.
Oh, that's
So-
correct. Yep.
So it's good. It's good that survey was done and that the awareness is out there that Dale Street's a needy case,
Mhm.
but it's not a guarantee of anything.
Yep. No, it was. I walked away from it being as a positive first step more than anything else. It's like, hey, we're interested in rejoining the program. Here's what we're doing today. What else can we? I did specifically ask, and I know probably everyone saw my email. After our last meeting about, what can we do? Because really, if you follow the steps of their program, it's the eligibility period, then you form a project team, and then it's the feasibility study. We've been talking about that, which it's no real packet that says here's the feasibility study. That has to do with the PDP as well as the PSR. So that's preliminary design program and preferred schematic report. Those are both part of the feasibility study, at least in their module. But there's some things in there that we should discuss. We can do. I forget which gentleman it was, Matt or Mike. I think it was Matt. He did, which kind of sets us back a bit in my mind. Did say be careful not to hire consultants that we would make you hire anyways. OPMs and architects specifically. So generally,
What was that again? They said what?
he said, be careful not to hire consultants that we would make, if you're in the process, ours, you have to follow the steps. So if we hired somebody for Dale Street in the next 3 months, 4 months, whatever it may be, to do some sort of existing conditions plan and, an architect to hey, go through the building, tell us how we could do an ad reno, tell us how we could do a new building, what would it look like on the site, blah, 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 blah. You would have to redo that if you got it to the MSPA. So that was an answer that we got that I thought was pertinent to this group. And I understood that prior, but we got to hear it from them, which was nice. I was hoping that if you hired, one of their architects or one of their OPMs, you might be able to kind of do that. But again, that was just kind of, it wasn't a warning by any means. It was more of you still have to follow our process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does lead me back to the chicken and egg.
Yeah.
No, it does feel like that. They did also emphasize, though, a lot that it's a competitive grant program. They seem to, not to us specifically, but feel that some people don't understand that while there are all these factors they're looking at in regards to urgency and need and community readiness, you could have all of those things, but you might not get it because they might not have enough money to fund all of the, right, if there's 25 projects that should get in, but they can only accept 15, and you're number 24. They did say that, and I also thought it was helpful that they did explicitly say, just because you had to leave the program doesn't mean you don't get invited back. They did explicitly say that, understanding that we did have to leave the program, and we are trying to get back. They said every year it starts new. Every year everything is starting new. They're looking at the SOIs coming in. They're looking at the funds they have. They're looking at all of the pieces that they have. So again, I thought that was, I appreciated them explicitly stating that. We didn't ask them that question. They stated that for us.
We didn't specifically ask because we weren't going to get an answer. Will we be accepted?
Right.
This year, right? So, anyways, that's the update. I think.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I
keep
didn't
going.
follow. I'm sorry. I just think.
I don't think so.
Could you say again what it is they said about getting into the program again? I
Yep.
didn't follow that.
Sure. They explicitly said just because you had to leave the program. So when they are saying you leave the program, that's because we voted no. When we voted no, we had to leave their program.
Right.
So because we had to leave their program, so they're basically saying that what I feel like they're saying is we don't have a secret black mark on us because we had to leave the program. They are looking at everybody again each year, right? I think there's probably some truth that there are towns out there that haven't had a chance yet that might, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neck to neck, that could be a truth. But they said that they start over every year, right? It's a new beginning every year for them. They're looking at the SOIs that are submitted. They're looking at the funds they have available. They're looking at the urgent needs of the schools that are coming in, and they're making their decisions in that type of decision matrix.
Yeah, on a yearly basis, it's a new competitive form. Is basically how it's described.
Well, that's actually good news.
Yeah,
Again, I appreciated them pointedly saying that to us.
yeah. I think we've
They
done.
didn't say like, look, once you leave the program, other people might move up, so it might take longer. They didn't phrase it that way. So
Absolutely not.
that was good.
Nope. I'm trying to look at my notes here. Again, the timelines, we kind of already know them as far as December decisions. April 12th, the statement of interests are all due, so they'll know who's applying, by their April or May board meetings. I think the tax year actually closed as well, so I think they'll know how much money. So, again, we won't know anything until November. But I think what I took out of it mostly is that a positive first step. We talked to them about what we're doing today. All of that was good stuff. And then they said, the consultants you'll have to hire them per what we agreed to, per our modules.
You sent out an email. I can't remember if it was 2 emails or 1 email with 2 attachments, but you sent out an email with those 2 long things that were part of the 2021 thing. I'm not going to tell you I read all of both
BDP
of those.
and the PSR, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those very much do not have to be done before November.
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we can't do all of those.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
nope.
So when
those
I saw those, I thought, oh my God, we have to get all this done by November. That's not the case.
Nope. I wish it was. We could, roll our sleeves up and divide up into groups and say, all right, I'll tackle this, you tackle this. So just to reiterate, just to be clear, so I'm going to go through the first 4 modules of the MSBA program again, just verbally, because this will lead into our next conversation. Leo, I'm going to bore you because you know all of this already. Eligibility period is number 1. That's when you get accepted into the MSBA. You form a school building committee. Check. We've already done that. You agree on design enrollment. You haven't done that yet. So we can probably have those discussions now. Or not today because the future thing I just sent to you, but after Tracy presents to us and we have her. And you execute a feasibility agreement. The next one is you develop a project team where you hire an owner's project manager, and then you go through a designer selection process and you select an architect. And again, like I talked through my email, we don't exactly get our final choice on that architect all the time. It's we have 1 or 2 people on the voting committee. They have like 5 or 7 or something like that. So everyone ranks from 1 through 3. The third module is the feasibility study. And again, I attached MSBA's feasibility checklist to that email I sent you, but it's an educational plan, which we have, but needs to be tweaked and updated. It's an initial space summary done by an architect. Existing conditions report, which we have from the last time. So my gut tells me that our group should focus on, we know what that is. Establish design parameters, develop and evaluate alternates for designs. And the next two things are the preliminary design program and the preferred schematic report. So those are like the first three modules that, kind of in my email to you guys after our last meeting, I think we could focus on parts of the PDP and specifically, I'm interested in talking about grade configuration, site criteria and selection, and possible building options presented prior, but that's kind of after we kind of have those two discussions. So I know this agenda is kind of flowing. The MSBA update kind of is going into the next agenda item of PDP, but I'm of the opinion that this group here should decide, and it's not our decision, it's the school committee's decision, number of grades. We can have an opinion on it for sure. And then I also think that we should decide on a site so that we can be very specific if we get into MSBA or if we don't, and then we move from there. How you doing?
Markers.
Marcus, okay. Not sure.
I'll look in the drawers over there.
Okay. Or maybe in the drawer in the front? Is that a drawer?
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. No.
We're all one big happy family, right?
So those are types of things that we can vote on, site selection. I don't think we should vote, I think we should start the discussion, but this is, again, I'm just going to throw my stuff against the wall and sit back and listen. I think we need at least a town forum, if not two, for site selection, okay? I think we need to have healthy discussion on that. And preferably, I'd like to have that done, you guys tell me, three months time, whatever, maybe 4 months time, doesn't matter. I think that we, as a group, should discuss grade configuration. I think the one thing, again, it's not our decision to make, so I'm not sure we have to vote on it, but I think that we should probably discuss it so that we at least make a recommendation to the school committee. And I have some strong opinions on both. So anyone else, I hope you guys read those pages that was outlined in that PDP. Are there any other items in that document that you think are top of brain, top of mind, that we can actually get done prior to, prior to next November? Anything else come to mind?
I think those are the big ones. I mean, it's grade configuration, site selection, and then once you pick those two, then you think that next dive into, well, is it an at-run, is it a building, or what?
Yeah.
But those, they come first, and then you.
I think we'll have a good idea on design enrollment also, which will help with that. And then I think generally I would love to say, hey, let's hire an architect for cheap money and do some sketches and see what we can do on this. But I hate to waste the money if we got into MSBA.
Is it feasible to take the ones we already paid for and have someone recost factor those out under the current economic climate? Because that way you at least have an idea of we knew, we've got drawings, pictures, and options on all the sites we were considering.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of that. What we don't have is a biggest question is it's going to cost, right? And we could take those designs based on square footage and other things and say, listen, we'd have to go through the process again, but based on the work that was already done, we can at least give a somewhat rough guesstimate of what the cost would be before going into another design phase. I mean, and do more than a blanket percentage based on the numbers that we had how many years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we can add whatever percent the construction market and the environment. You take
But
an average.
we have a trained eye look at it and say, well, steel's gone up this much. You had this much steel specified. Brick and mortar's gone up this much. You had this much specified. And take all. We had 6 or 7 different options at least.
Yeah, I would say we probably had at least that many for Dale Street site alone.
We had a number of options. So, it would cost money, but it probably couldn't cost us that much more than what we've spent already.
I don't hate the idea.
At least that gives us something to say to the community. And then if then we can decide whether we go at it on our own or still continue moving that ball forward with MSBA, right?
Yeah, so I think that's probably something else that we can probably discuss too. Is that because I think it's certainly open for discussion. I'll give you my opinion, and it's just my opinion is that the MSBA is going to take an extra year to build unless we do. We can do it on our own. It takes less. It takes a year less, roughly 11 months ish, whatever the number is. They definitely take longer. We do not have final designer selection. I deal with architects all the time. It's not the biggest deal to me. And then the dollars and cents wise, the MSBA is significantly cheaper no matter how you build it. CM at risk or bid design bid build, and then also the MSBA program takes a lot of risk factors out of it at the time, right? I mean, it's a less risky process. Following their process, they're involved. If you mess up on an MSBA project, they're not going to hire you back. They're not going to hire a subcontractor or a contractor back, right? A designer back, PM back. Those types of things mean a lot. So I think it's much less risky to do it. Plus dollars and cents. We've heard money is a big deal.
Money is going to be a big deal.
So
that's the first thing people are going to ask.
So my going all those things together, I think we tried for another year. It's already April. But I'm of the opinion, and I had a conversation with with Gus on this past week about this, and it's just my opinion. I told him, I was like, look, if we don't get in, this group here has got nothing else to do if we're going to wait for another year. Like we just need to go on our own. But that's just my opinion. Or at least make a hard effort to go on our own. Really hire somebody to figure out what those costs are, and go from there. So costs are one thing. So we talked about site selection. Yes, we could probably figure that out.
For site selection, because I had written this as well, are we ready to start talking about site selection and put it on a future agenda as a note for today? What info do we need, or what info do we not have to effectively discuss site selection? So I recognize that you just mentioned that we should have some forums, but in that space, are there things that we need to already understand about the sites in order to be able to have a discussion about it? And if so, what are those things?
So there was already paid for a comprehensive review of all the town property in the previous process. They reviewed every site that we owned, parcel that would hold building, and so on. And if I recall, there was 3. The current Dale site
Well, I
behind
think this is in the
Wheelock.
PDP. It said specifically the 6 whatever sites and why they were eliminated and how we ended up with only 2 left.
Those
So I
were
think
all there,
we could share that information. But even if just looking at whatever those sites are that nothing's changed since those have been done, looking at the sites that could be options, what information do we need? And I'm saying that because when we were looking at the drawings and the renderings from last time, they were the building may have looked very big to some people being behind Dale, right? But so I guess like that's the kind of stuff like I'm trying to understand, like,
Well, I guess so. That's
like, are we going 3 stories up, right?
those were the conversations, and again, those would be some of the questions. Like maybe people would say, I think that was some of the feedback that was because of the pandemic. I don't think we got enough of, right? Like the people on Adams Street going to appreciate a 3-story building. I don't know. The people over here behind the FAF, if even the 2-story building goes up against that fence, because one of the designs had the building running up against it. So now they're looking at a brick building, and their sunlight's now being cut out from going into their backyard. Right? But who knows if they got their feedback, or so even though the letters and stuff were sent to all the abutters and that kind of stuff for those forums. So those are the questions that, again, we would hope that people would solicit feedback on for each of the sites. The site at Wheelock, same idea. Traffic was one of the things people discussed.
So I'm wondering as well,
more
like,
buses they put.
to the forums, and if we also look at submitting another survey, right? Like the Lauren Beetlesbacher with the open space, and she's on the Parks and Rec Commission and worked with the open space and Park and Rec Committee or Rec Committee or whatever. I know they sent out a survey that she helped facilitate and run. I thought that was very well done, but kind of talked about some of the, I feel like there's parallels that we're talking about right now or could be talking about. And I'm wondering if in conjunction with the forums, we should really be looking at a survey that talks about kind of like what people think about the site, right? What do they know? What do we want them to know? What information is missing? How do they feel versus the sites that we know we can build on? Right. And maybe even just rolling in some of these other things that we've just been talking about. I guess kind of reaching out to the people again with some of the stuff that we did in the survey last time, but honing in on site and maybe cost to help people really understand, like, these are going to be, if these are some of the 2 bigger factors, how can we all help everybody get on the same page? Because there's going to have to be compromise somewhere along the way for everybody to be able to get, for us as a town to get a new school. We all agree we need a new school. What are we helping people compromise on to get to the new school? Because there's going to have to be compromise between everybody who voted last time, right?
So to go back to your original question, like what info do we need and what don't we have? I've lived this too much personally. I've got it. I know I've got it all. So I think I have a very good idea that I think. So this is just my opinion again, but I think a forum should be, maybe this letter goes out and we invite people to this forum. We discuss this topic. So we get those questions, right? Or at least feedback. Maybe everyone's in agreement that it has to be a Dale. Or, maybe some people are still adamant the Wheelock site's the best, but we should at least hear them out. Because what we don't want to do is pigeonhole ourselves to say, this is what it's going to be because that's what we decided, and then, have a failed vote. No matter what we do, MSBA without MSBA doesn't either way. Whenever we put a plan in front to raise $70 to $100 million, like we need to be fairly confident that 67% of the people are going to say this.
I was gonna say, I echo this. Like I already know all the information we went through.
So yeah, so I can't answer that question. Like I got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but I think that's a fair question.
What you gave us was very thorough. I went by the site to talk in detail about all the sites. That was really helpful, actually. Seeing all that. So, but I think the bigger piece is sampling the community. We need to know, where they are. Majority of people, more than majority, because we maybe 2/3, in terms of sites. And it's a little hard, and we talked about this in the subcommittee. It's hard because some people say, well, I would pick this site if it looked like that. I would pick this site if it looked like that.
We can get there, but that's different, right?
It's another level, right, of trying to make a decision. But we kind of need the basic, if you know which site majority of people want, then we can look at the options of what we can do on that site.
Yeah, so that's the architect's job, right? That's
Right.
the, hey, look, we decided on a site. That has to be done ahead of time. But then it's, we don't want it to intrude on the neighbors over here, and we're thinking, we want to reuse, what is that, North Street or whatever. We want to extend that driveway around. Like, you can play with those things. It could be 3 stories. It could be 2. I'm a proponent of getting that feedback in an open forum type. Yes, a survey is fine.
We could do both.
I
We
think
have
we
a
need both. I don't
forum.
think
Yeah.
people are
And
gonna
it'll-
necessarily come to the forum. I think
Right.
you're not gonna get the good cross section that you're hoping for in a forum.
Right, but we can definitely do the forum and say, this is what it's about. We're
Both?
gonna
Okay.
discuss the sites we think. We want to hear from you, and they can ask us questions, and we'll have people who know it well to answer. This is, this side on this side, et cetera. And then we can send out a survey so that people can inform and everybody else. And if people don't have information, maybe we can make some type of site where, before you answer the survey, if you have questions, you can come to the forum, read this. We did get some information from the first survey that we did about site. There were a lot of people who were concerned with leaving Dale Street without a plan.
Yep.
That came up a lot. And then there were a lot of concerns about adding another school in the Wheelock neighborhood and the traffic and what that meant.
When you said leaving Dale Street without a plan, what did you mean by that?
Building, because the previous plan was to build a new school on the Wheelock site.
Yeah.
But there was no part of it that said what we're gonna do with Dale. And people were, in the survey said this was a concern for them.
Okay.
They said, that's gonna cost more money, this is actually more expensive, we don't know what you're gonna do with Dale, we don't want it to sit there, So that was a concern for voters.
Yeah, and a valid one, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Right?
I also will say, because sometimes people don't know this, it's not the first time we tried to build a second school on the Wheelock site.
Really? 0 for 2?
Yeah, so I,
That would have been good information to know.
Gosh. Wish I had known that.
I did try to tell a couple people that, so
How long ago are we talking?
2000, so the addition at Memorial, the renovation addition of that Memorial happened because the new school that we wanted to put on the Wheelock property failed. And that was a whole project where we flipped the middle and the high school, and then we're gonna put a K1, just a K1 on the Wheelock property. We weren't touching Dale, I wanna be real clear what we were doing.
Yeah.
Memorial was half the size it is now or less. Memorial was falling down, leaks were everywhere. And the plan had been, Memorial actually, at that time, would have been a good place for a park and rec, because it had a gym and a cafeteria, and it was one level, and classrooms and fields. And it was small, and that was the plan, but that vote didn't make it. So in order to reduce,
This came to town meeting?
yes, it came down, we passed town, we actually passed town meeting with 2/3, but we lost at the paper vote. And I was there that night, and I can tell you there were people in the parking lot that were yeses that were dawdling and didn't get into the door lock, but I'm gonna let that go.
We have a track record of
Yeah.
failing
So-
votes and then building smaller buildings afterwards.
Yeah, so honestly, in hindsight, I actually really like what we did with Memorial. I like that we made 3 wings. I like the renovation. I think it turned out great, and we still got to flip the middle and the high school. So I don't have regrets about it, but I do think that, and we weren't touching Dale. I want to be real clear. We were going to then renovate Dale. We were never going to get rid of Dale. It's just it seemed like a good plan for Memorial, which was a park and rec building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's twice now that the idea of doing some more on Wheelock has not passed in the
So I just kind of gather it all together. I heard public forum and survey, and I think we do something along those lines first in regards to site selection.
So to sort of get this moving, I'm going to suggest to the subcommittee that we find a place and pick a date. Because once all of us have a date, it'll push us to plan what's gonna happen at the forum.
Yep.
We'll say location, but I think we gotta get a date in front of us.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the location, we'll figure that out. I think,
We're thinking of high school, right?
We were kicking around Dale just to get some people at Dale in case he hadn't been.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I like Dale Street too. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Probably.
Jeff,
You okay with that?
is that, any date's fine, you could care less? We're not gonna run into a band concert or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the only,
Good, I mean,
yeah, we'll figure that
That's
out.
all at the high school, so it's actually better at Dale.
Okay.
It could be things that pop
Yeah,
up. So
like we do like an incoming town information night for like grade 3 to 4. So just let me know.
We'll certainly coordinate.
Yeah,
Thank you.
shouldn't be a problem.
Did we kick around a weeknight and a Saturday? Okay.
Subcommittee.
Did
has been
someone say
talking about
Saturday?
Yeah.
I know. And especially, you know, the time you were talking about was gonna be terrible. We figured, our discussion was, if you can't make it at night for some reason, why didn't you folks do it during the day?
Yeah.
To allow that option. But I understand what the playing fields look like on a Saturday morning. A third of the population is there.
I mean, a Sunday might be better than a Saturday, but I think they're both equally, doesn't matter. But I think Sunday's probably better, but that's, but why don't we just do two then?
Right.
And have the same exact topic?
That's what we thought, we'd do the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
topic,
same thing. Yeah.
just 2 times, an evening and a morning, so anyone that says, but you did it at night, and we'll say, well, no, we actually did a Saturday morning, you know.
Offer childcare.
And I think do the forums first and then do the survey,
Yes, definitely.
but have them together,
Right.
right? Like, yeah.
And you can tell everybody, this is coming, and here's all the prep you can do before the survey hits the ground.
Because the forum can generate what we need to put in the survey.
Right.
Yeah.
What timeframes does the group think on both the forums and then the survey? Preferably, I'd like to do it before the school year is done.
Yeah, that's
May,
what,
no?
we had talked about the forum being in May,
Yeah.
and then the
June-
survey
June's
maybe,
too late, I think.
you know, within
Yeah.
2 weeks of,
Especially if you're handing out the letter at town meeting, then if you
Yeah.
had it, you know, shortly after town meeting.
Let's advertise
Or
it
if
at
we
town
could have
meeting.
a date on the letter.
Correct.
oh,
When
that's
we're-
really.
well, that was
the last.
The end
yeah.
of, the last
Yeah.
paragraph of the
So we
draft
got-
letter says,
You know,
we plan to have a forum to discuss this on, and then I left blank.
Leave it
let's
that
fill in
sentence
the
and
blank.
close with it.
you've already got that there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leave it that sentence and close with that
But
because
we
they
need-
may not get to the bottom.
But the letter
that's
is about
fair.
the finances, so
Actually,
we need to
yeah.
be clear that the forum, the first piece of this is picking a location, that's what the forum.
Yeah, no, don't worry about the location. We'll Dale Street is the location.
No, I mean,
Oh.
on the
The
letter.
letter talks about
Oh.
financing.
Because
and
the
then
letter's
it says
about
the forum.
financing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The forum won't be about financing,
Yeah.
but we may talk about it a little bit. The forum's really gonna be about the location, because that seems to be the first thing we're going for, am I right about that?
Well, I think people may want to have their say on financing and on the overall cost once they've seen the letter. So I would say in the letter, we will discuss, you know, school finances and the location of a new school or something.
Just,
can have
just let it
both.
go, because people are gonna bring it up anyway.
Right.
It's true.
So, where's it gonna go? How much is it gonna cost me?
Right.
I don't have children in school anymore. I really don't care about that.
That's it.
Tell me my tax rate.
So I think.
Yes.
Um,
I mean, honestly,
That's what it comes down to,
I,
business.
I've already been doing some of that.
I think we maybe have like a 4 slide PowerPoint where the first one is site selection, and we review the sites, tell them why it can't be 5 of them, but there could be 2, and the second one would be, you know, what do you guys think? Let's hear some feedback, have a discussion, and then you kind of cut it off after half an hour, and hopefully it goes that long, and then you go into financing, and like we just talk high level bullet points of Steve's presentation, but also maybe some historical data, some recent towns around us, elementary schools that are being built right now, things of that nature. Again, that's the best data we have, is an elementary school within 10 miles, 15 miles, that's currently being constructed.
Can we get an updated cost on all the needed repairs to Dale? Jeff? Yeah. I mean, I know we had it somewhere, and I know we talked about updating it, but
It's on the town website. I looked at it recently.
we've got nice brand new columns, but we gotta.
It was like 150 grand this year. It's right on the website. And what was that?
I just meant
Did I email that to you maybe in a response? It was 175, but the middle school had like 150 maybe. Like there was a breakdown of the schools. But yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I meant the deferred maintenance. Like, what is there was a large deferred maintenance plan.
So
to bring Dale to where it should be. You know.
Yeah, the problem is, so yes, that's probably 3 or 4 years like of that. If I look on where I look on the site, it kind of ends at the end of 25. It was like no more costs. It's like going to be.
That's because
yeah, right.
And the committee has engaged. We have engaged in the previous meeting. There was a discussion about that, so that is something that's on our radar.
I'll look at it. Okay. Okay, so it's my opinion that if we do 2 forums, and honestly, even if we did them like on a Monday and then the following Sunday, like bang it out, have 2 of them, we can come to a conclusion. Or if we don't feel the town has a strong voice, if we're if we're not getting
an educated
like then we do it again. And we this is what we're hearing. What do you think? And we drill it in.
I would do them as long as this committee is here. If we're not getting feedback, we do them again. Not to keep marching up the same people to present again, but I think dollars is going to come up, and that's why I think we probably can't do it fast enough for a May forum, or maybe, but because people are going to ask, what's this going to impact?
Well, I think
well, Steve's numbers are pretty good. Right?
Yeah, I think we have some good
there.
numbers that we could. I mean, I could put it together in an hour, just high level of what it would be, and we can even say, look at. I mean, the range is fairly large if we do. I'm in construction, really my expertise. I could tell you that there's not a lot of Dale that can be used. All new mechanical. We have, we wanted to do geothermal wells last time. If you're using an existing building, it's incredibly challenging to do that unless you do them obviously outside the structure of the building. You know what I mean? So we're going to have, some people in town who aren't going to be happy that those aren't going in. If you reuse a large part of it, there's probably portions, whatever. All new electrical, you know what I mean? Like all the facade work, all the windows, everything.
The facade of me, we can keep the pillar side.
Says that everything. PDP, like every report in the PDP says like this is really bad and needs to be changed. So every system in there needs to be.
But I would tell you that there are probably high level, some concrete columns and some things that could probably be reused. They're strong. They've been there since 1942. Like they're not going anywhere. Maybe there's some reinforcement. Okay, that could feasibly save millions of dollars for some. You know what I mean? For some portion of the building, and maybe even that's just like a 20,000 square foot piece of it. But at least you don't have to pour that new concrete, right? I'm just thinking again, cost wise. So, that's why the range of the cost can really be. Steve's. I love his presentation. I think he did an excellent job as well. Every time I see him, I say thank you. But, there is probably a higher end to what he presented and probably even a lower end as well. In the end, the numbers are he's in the middle. And I think that that's a fair way to look at it.
But I'm not disagreeing because I have no construction expertise whatsoever. That sentence is silly. But if we do redo, keep some part of Dale, and scrap 80+% of it, we're going to need modular.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And then and I don't have any idea of what modulars cost. I bet it's a fair amount, but I don't have any sense of what the fair amount is.
And it is disruptive too for the number of years of funneling kids out, and it's a phased project.
Yeah, there's options to that too. Like Leo said, you can phase it, or you can keep half the building, demo half the building. There may be some other options that we would have to dig into for that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We had an estimate on the last time, and it was in the $2.5 to $3.5 million range for modulars. Ish. I think that was probably about the number.
More, yeah, the 10 number or something like that.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was about that. All right, so that's that. I think that's a really good idea. How do we want to decide on dates? What do you guys think about?
Well, why don't you let us do that, please? We will talk with Steve and find out. We'll aim for third or fourth week of May, staying away from
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. And prom, do you know prom?
Yes.
Oh,
The first, the
at the beginning of May. Okay.
First weekend.
All right. So
May 6th is town meeting.
right.
So we want to do it after that, before Memorial Day.
We gotta. I think we gotta give people 2 weeks notice, don't you think?
So
So 13 and 7 in the 20th week.
So that's May. Well, the last weekend in May is Memorial Day, so maybe like the 19th, or then you go back. Then you go to the next weekend, which is June 2nd.
So I mean, I'm just looking at the calendar.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything. But if we want to stay away from Memorial, well, I guess we could do Sunday, May 19th for the first forum, and then some weekday that week before, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. If we wanted to get 2 done before Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day is the 20th. Is early.
I'm just spitballing here. Don't anybody take me seriously, but I don't think we necessarily want to do it the very week after town meeting, because a lot of people who come out to town meeting might not want to come out again another time.
I mean, June 2nd works too. You know what I mean? It's probably not a terrible idea because it's after.
Is that for graduation? Got to be right about there.
Graduation on first. Not Saturday.
Yeah, that's too much. Yeah. So,
All right, why do you?
All the parents who
What do
at
you
the
guys-
all-night graduation party
Right.
can come to the.
We can just walk around. We're not gonna volunteer. We just wanna know how you feel about a couple of things.
clipboards in our
We
hands.
can stop the form as they're breaking everything down.
So,
All right, well, Carolyn,
Yeah.
I'm happy for you guys to just choose some dates.
It
And if
looks
we-
like we'd have to actually go something like the 16th and the 18th, and it is the week after. But maybe we can get some information out the end of April.
Goes out
16th
ahead
and
of town
18th.
meeting.
Yeah, the flyer goes out, the flyer has it in, and it goes out ahead somehow, even on the Facebook page down, whatever we do. We'll get
Mike
it.
threw out the proposal of doing Sunday rather than Saturday because of all the parents who are at soccer games.
Isn't Sunday soccer too, though?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's baseball every day of the weekend, anyways. But
Okay.
I just think
It's soccer for me too. So.
usually Sundays are a little bit lighter. But
Are you thinking afternoon then? Because like Sunday
Yeah.
morning, I would.
yeah, like a 4 o'clock on Sunday.
As long as it's not football season.
Okay. All right, so we'll go with not Saturday morning, but Sunday afternoon. Okay. So we're sort of looking at maybe 16th and the 19th.
And so for our next meeting, I'm just trying
On
to
the
think.
agenda, you're gonna have to put who's presenting, what do we need for it, all that. I mean, we'll do some of that, but, you know, obviously.
So we'll do Future Think, and then we'll do
Forum prep.
Forum Prep. So I'm happy to help present on the 19th. I'm not in town on the 16th. I don't need to be there. It's fine. It's not.
15th you
it's
can,
not
the 16th you can't?
16th of October,
Right, I mean,
but the 16th is fine.
well, but I mean, it'd be nice to have someone who feels very confident knowing if someone says, what about this parcel? How come you, and then you're like,
You've got
oh,
prior
this,
knowledge.
yeah. Rather than
Um,
us flipping the pages, right? You already know it.
Oh, I'll have to do my research, but that's yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot
Um,
into it. There was traffic
I'll have to flip the
studies.
pages. I'll have to flip the
Right,
pages
there's a
too.
lot
Believe
there.
me.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
lot.
Regardless, I honestly, I'm happy to be there on the 19th. That's just if you guys want to do it on the Wednesday, that's fine too. All right, so public forum prep will be that. And again, we're going to talk two main items: site selection and cost estimates or rough order of magnitude costs, something like that. Looking at a couple of slides, and I would just bullet point. Well, it kind of gets us into our next discussion on grade selection, right? I think we need to do 2 grades. And I think it needs to be a 1-for-1 replacement or add renovation. And again, this is Michael talking, but I think that discussion needs to be had. I don't know how many people have super strong feelings. Some do on combining grades and how schools are structured now. I will tell you generally. Like Michelle had said, when you're combining grades to the MSBA, for instance, it does become a little bit less that whole community, like as everyone, how did she define it, Michelle?
Community readiness.
Yeah, community district being ready, like that if you're changing the structure of your schools, it does throw a not the end of the world. People do it all the time, but the community has to be ready for it. And I also think 3 grades cost more than 2.
That's true.
It does.
About by a third, right?
Roughly a third.
I think the only thing that we want to, one of the things we took into consideration was the possibility of pre-K. We already memorial. I talk about the process of what we've done in the town as memorial is already too small for our needs because needs change over time. And so, yeah, can we build a building to replace exactly what we have? We certainly can do that. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike, because we don't have small buildings right now. We have average size school buildings. 400 kids is an average elementary school. And when you go down to 2, you're going to have large elementary schools. And there's pros and cons to that. And I think that would take a lot of vetting in the community.
Was going to 2 an option?
Well, if you were looking at changing grade configuration.
No, that was to incorporate pre-K.
Or
So
just
it would be pre-K and K in a school,
1 and 2 and another one and then 3,
1
4,
and
5.
2, and then 3,
Yeah.
4.
The idea was to make the campus out of a grade level.
yeah, but that makes one school very big, right?
No.
The 3, 4, 5? Yeah, it's 200.
Oh, we would do
200.
3, 4, 5. The idea was to
Oh
get,
yeah, that would be a bigger school for
yeah.
sure.
The idea was to get 2 through 5 under one site.
2 through 5, yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
that was
I'm
what,
sorry, yes.
that was what the outcome was going to be. To get 2 through 5 onto one campus.
No. If we went with 3 grades, it was 2.
Yeah, the 3
and 4.
grade option I thought was short lived, but that was
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I'm bringing it up again.
Right. I just think that I
Regardless,
can understand a community thinking about that, especially if they had small schools, but we don't have average. And so when you get into, if you go anywhere where you're getting 3 of the grade, I think that's a huge community discussion of which we're not, I don't see that as our job. School community, absolutely, but not ours. And I think that just prolongs everything and has the potential to lead us down a no path. So to
I just
me,
think
it
it's more
makes
expensive.
it makes
I
sense
think
to
the price is going to be the kicker.
Yeah.
I think 3 is just not going to cut it. But I
right.
think just taking into consideration, I think the running joke was that we could just reuse the portables on Memorial after we were done with this part of the phasing. So for the next thing that we were going to have to deal with, because there will be a next thing. Like, there's going to be other things that need to be done. I'm not sure if anyone's been in the FAF lately, but there's a big hole in the floor. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So if we can get this one done, right, whether it's an ad reno or a new building, but we keep it, 4 or 5, which the community's had. I think it's a better sell. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you get a look at Memorial, maybe adding classrooms or whatever, and eventually, obviously, Wheelock's going to also need its own renovation. But I just think it's a better sell. And
Like just add the SOI that was approved by school committee and the select board as a 4-5.
great, yeah,
It's a 4-5.
it's a 4 or 5.
So then I'm not sure there's much discussion to be had. I mean, again, it's not our purview in this group to discuss it. I mean, to vote on it. What is the school committee going to do?
Sure, we had to talk about this in the fall. Kristen and I, coming from the SBC, brought it up to the school committee, and we met and talked with Jeff prior to going there. I myself, again, I feel like all I do is look back at old documents that I've looked at over and over and over again. I looked at everything they looked at prior to me being on the school committee around the grade configuration discussions they had last time, the difficult decision you guys made to vote the 4-5 and leave the 3-4-5 that everyone had spent so much time and energy looking out for the kids. So while we never took a formal vote, the discussion that we had in the fall meeting fell on costs, right? At the end of the day, like that was the reason that they ended up previously settling on the 4-5 and not continuing to pursue the 3-4-5 option. And I just, speaking again as Michelle and not in the school committee specifically, I've not seen any evidence that shows that we would be able to go forward with a 3-4-5. So I do think we should be, something I do think we should think about, and again, this would be again a future conversation, understanding right now that Memorial is a little space challenged and that we have the preschool over at Wheelock right now. This will be a cost ask, but if we do end up in a space where we're building or doing something on Dale, we're keeping it 4 or 5, would we be open to consider adding a preschool there or additional rooms that would give space back to Wheelock or space back to Memorial and still function in this space that we want in regards to helping our youngest learners really be able to come into the school system at a time they need to. That would be an ask. The MSBA would not support that. That would be an additional ask we'd be asking for the town, but understanding that that is a space consideration we have right now and a challenge that we have right now, that is something I just wonder if we could think creatively about to consider.
And I would say that, not that we're here to solve that problem, but taking into consideration that it is a problem in the schools, I think it's been a successful program at Wheelock, according to Dr. Marston, Jeff. I mean, so I think it's, of spreading out those types of services too. It's harder, I guess, in the sense of when you want to centralize that the types of services when you're using grade levels, you kind of want them together sometimes, and free. But in this particular case, it has worked out for convenience and other parts of town as well. So having that in consideration in the building would ease that pain on Memorial, to Michelle's point.
But it's not just that. There's a wait list everywhere. There's a wait list every year as well, and there's children that would really benefit from being in our pre-K program prior to kindergarten, but like actually being in and being a part of the school, the Medfield public school community. So,
have you guys though looked at other options? For instance, if you look at the shape of Memorial, is kind of in the number 3, making it an 8, and putting rooms, closing it up, and have 2 courtyards. Have you looked at?
Well, that would be a renovation.
No, yeah,
It would. But I mean, that might.
Our short-term answer, since
Was get
you're asking
down
someone who
first.
came off the last failed vote, so
Right.
portable classrooms is our answer to that. Right? So that would be our answer. What about long-standing portable classrooms with full foundations underneath, and you put brick facade on them to make it look like the rest of the building?
Yeah.
And they'll last you 20 years.
Yeah, we had them at the school I taught in Westwood at the end. The whole time I was there, we had the 2 portables, right?
And a little ramp to get up
A little
there.
ramp, yeah.
Yeah,
All brick.
they were probably there for 25, 30 years.
Yes, they were. They made their, the last couple of years, of course now they're all in the new building, but the last couple of years they had some roof things and stuff, but
I've never been in the middle school. Is there, I'll be honest, I've never set foot in the middle school here. Is there room in the middle school? I've heard that is there space in there? I mean, where I'm going with this is like,
there's no rooms in the middle school that aren't being used.
so there's no
I
space.
think there's some larger rooms that might have a class that could fit 35 kids, and they have,
There's not like rooms or space though.
I've been in there a handful of times, I've never seen any.
Oh, okay.
So that argument comes up every once in a while that the capacity issue around, we have space. We want to go back to 30 or 35 kids in a classroom, and that's, if we could find space, but that, when we had 3,000 kids in the district, and those rooms were all filled up, because we had so many kids in the room. So last year, Steve Callahan and Ed Dazella walked through the entire building in the school day to try to find space, because that was an argument that was going on, and every group of kids take their own behavior.
The only reason I say it is because I really have grown to like the idea of having 5th grade in middle school. In Foxborough, our elementary schools end in 4th grade, and it was something that was really novel to me. I was like, this. I mean, it took me a while to adjust to it, but it's wonderful. I mean, it's really like, as far as like thinking about 5th grade as a middle school grade, I had never worked in a school system that did that. I mean, I was in Rentham, I was in Westwood. It was always like 6, 7, 8. Like even growing up, I was 6, 7, 8. Right, that was middle school. And to think about 5th grade in a middle school was like something. We had in Westwood we did team teaching in 5th grade, right? So it was kind of like
They tried to get them used to changing
style.
I think it would be appreciated. I agree. I concur that the 5th grade would be conducive to that.
I mean, if there's no way to do that, then it's not really a conversation.
Not by moving them, but you could change the teaching model.
Because then you could have a pre-K, K, a 1, 2, and a 3, 4, and then 5th grade would become essentially part of the school. But that is a whole other.
Yeah, what was kind of on the docket before was, just to be clear, it was either a 4 or 5 school or a 3, 4, 5 school. Not
Not a
2,
3,
3,
4.
4. You know what I mean? So
Pre-K, K, a 1, 2, or 2. Excuse me, a pre-K, K, a 1, 2, and a 3, 4.
3, 4, 5.
That's 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
So one school.
That's right. And so, look, I'll reiterate the fact that what I started with was that, like, you already got a failed vote. The simplest way to get a new school at Dale Street is to replicate a 4-5, whether that be at Ann Redham or a new school. And that's just my opinion. I just don't. If you start throwing all these other variables into the equation, you get people to say, I don't like it. And we need a new building. It's just.
It's become just an operational issue right now. The fancy stuff that ship has sailed. That ship is done. We can't get innovations done from that perspective. So as much as I respect it, Rob, that was just like.
No, I know.
I agree. I'm in a district now with 2 middle schools, and they're 5 through 8.
Yeah.
And I think the models work great. But there are only 100 students per grade level in each.
I went to middle school in 5th grade as well. I know, so maybe it wasn't fun.
Can I go back to the community forum for just
please.
1 minute? Sorry to backtrack. So one of the questions I have about the community forum is like, how are we going to attract the people who voted no, right? Like so that's a group of people who we really need to be present, right? We need to hear from them, and I think it's likely to assume that like the people who voted yes are probably going to vote yes again, most of them. People who voted no are kind of our target audience here, right? So like, and I think a fair portion of them maybe are in the like senior population in town. Would it make sense to have a community forum at the senior center? And then they'd also be able to offer transportation to the senior center, be able to engage that population of residents that we may not be able to engage otherwise.
Good idea.
Agree 100%, and it's we go to them.
We go to them,
come to
and
us.
they come to us too through that as a community organization that's well used. And I think also the people who are in touch with that organization in that demographic in town, those are our voters, right? Those are our senior voters in town. I think that there's a good senior population in town. Part of that population is probably involved and stays aware of current events, and that's the population that is attending events at the senior centers.
And they come to town meeting and they vote, and they are very much a strong voice.
I think that's probably a third form.
That might be a third form.
And that's
I
fine.
would think so. Yeah.
And Rob, to answer your first question, to get people there,
Yeah.
you put it right in the
Exactly.
letter,
That'd be
and you
more.
talk about it at town meeting, you're gonna talk about price and site selection.
Yeah.
Because that's what did it.
So,
Like get them right out there, like, and that's what people will show up for.
Like, I would just add that when we did a forum at the senior center last time, it was probably the best attendance out of any forum we did.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there was
we-
one.
We did that last time.
Oh,
We had
okay.
Great attendance. That's good.
so I'll.
Was it
throw out
evening
the-
or during the day, Jeff?
During the
Yeah.
day, like after school, like around 4.
So let's make it 3.
Yeah.
Because I still like the idea of having, not all the no voters. I don't disagree, but that is a target audience to inform and get opinions on for sure. But also, a lot of people who voted no was because of site, was because of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of the
whatever they
people,
had
like,
against, right?
If I was in that population, I mean, I might have voted no. I mean, it's like, to be honest, I mean, I don't. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell if you don't have kids, and if you're on a fixed income or you're not on a fixed income, or just not having kids. It's a hard sell.
So I will say a lot of the seniors in town have been here a long time and had kids go through the system, and they knew even then Dale needed fixing.
Yeah.
So it
It's
is.
true,
It's
true.
true.
It's
And
very
so when I talk to them, they're not against fixing Dale. They truly believe that they had strong opinions about the plan. But I think you're absolutely right. What I would suggest is on that 19th, we're doing the evening at Dale. We could do a late morning at the senior center. And I feel a little bad too, because we didn't check with you on the date to Jeff on.
Yeah, I can't be doing the 19th, so, but that's okay.
Okay.
My son graduated.
In the 19th of Sunday.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so that should be fine, but I didn't know the other date, you said 16, but then Mike said he couldn't make 16, so I just wanted.
So I was on the 15th. But also I feel a little bad you on Sunday, so can we get in the building without you having?
Yeah, you'd have to have a custodian in there, so.
Just a
Yeah,
custodian,
and
right?
and if I can open up to, you will plan to be there for some of the time, I can't, if it's going to be senior center too, I don't know if I can commit to both of those, but. We're
Yeah.
going to be there to help out. And you said the 15th?
Well, now,
Why
actually.
don't we just?
Yeah, no, I
I'm
just
sorry to
wanna-
interrupt you here.
Yeah.
Can we do the senior center maybe the week after at a 4 p.m. or it's just
Yeah, I wouldn't.
unless look at it, it's just at that point like
Yeah.
work and everything.
Bob
else
and I
goes
agree.
away.
We'll do late morning. on the
Do you
senior
guys want
center.
to do late morning senior
Yeah,
center?
we'll
That would
do
be
morning.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I don't then just let us know when that is and if we can be there. Great.
Yeah.
But then it needs to be people there that know what they're talking about, because there will be some very pointed and intelligent questions. And
You
trust me
guys are
on that.
intelligent. You guys got it.
We got that.
You got that?
Okay.
All right.
We need some good resources.
All right. So I think that's again we've been about an hour and a half, so I'm happy to just about wrap up unless there's any more. I mean, this is an ongoing discussion, but the way I see it is we tackle site selection. I mean, great configuration again. Unless there's strong opinions, it's not our decision. I don't even know if we recommended it last time. I can't remember.
There was a thing, I think, in the MSBA that was supposed to be allowed to vote on a grade configuration. So again, we can have a discussion on it again, just to,
Okay, maybe you guys can.
and
You
I
guys,
talked to Tim about it too, so we can have it on the agenda.
yeah, if you don't mind.
We need to vote on it.
It
We
said
don't need to vote on it. but
we
maybe
will need
you
to vote
do.
at it on some point.
Right.
It would be kind of great if we could even get that out and update, because I do have a lot of people asking me, have you at least decided
Oh.
grade? So I would love to put it in an update that this discussion resulted in deciding that we will do a 4 or 5, and I don't know if that comes, I don't put that out until you vote or what, but I do.
I mean, if they need us to vote on it, I mean, to help the cause, sure.
Meredith's got something. Go ahead, Meredith.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm going back to the forums for a second. I'm just thinking that with that, I know that for the stay-at-home parent population too, like if we're going to do the late morning one during the week at the senior center, I just think, are we opening that to everyone? I'm assuming yes, but I think we also have to think of them, because I have friends that are moms that stay at home that like really struggle to be able to do anything at night or on the weekends, but like during the day, they are very easily able to get out, and I feel like we also need to target that population.
So
They can come to the senior
That's
center,
all.
it'd be great.
so would the senior center want?
Yeah, definitely. I think we just have to make sure, that we just make sure all of the forums are open, and then, in talking with the senior center, making sure that they realize it could be a bigger crowd, because I do think we will get a population that can't really, like, weekends and nights are hard.
Yeah.
So
we'll
just
have
putting that out there.
We'll have an evening, a Sunday afternoon, and we'll have a late morning. We'll ask about senior center people who can come and attend. I think it'd be great to mix the people in, but we'll ask to make sure that.
Yeah, please make sure.
That there's enough room and whatnot.
And by the way, to Meredith's point,
Yeah.
if they're like, there's not going to be enough room, maybe we schedule it for, and we do another one during the day. We can't talk about it enough.
That whole day. It could be like a road
I don't. It is what it is. Like,
trip, right? I mean, it could be.
I want all people who voted yes, all people who are going to vote. I want their opinion.
Mike, if we do it on the same day, like a morning, an afternoon, and an evening,
Oh, that's a long day.
I know.
Sure, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I do.
We can grab lunch at the griddle for a little break.
Yeah.
Paid for by the SBC.
God no, we need that.
Don't do that. No. All right. Anything else in regards to these things? There's no outstanding questions. I think we have the capacity and the ability to tackle this sooner than later, and I think if we get these forum schedules, it'll inform us what questions to ask ourselves, what questions to, and if we can't answer them after 3 or 4 meetings, then we do them again, and we get more very specific into what it is.
But I thought your point was excellent. Try to get the no voters, if we are able to, out. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's good to hear from them in person, right? Like, I think we did hear from some of them in that original survey, and that was very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're more well informed, right? And we have more information to share with them. We have shared more information with them. So, I think it's worth trying to engage that group. And I don't know where else that group might exist in a large,
I mean, there are a lot of people with kids I know for a fact that voted no too.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would want, but I think to your point, my gut tells me the majority of yes voters are going to vote yes again.
Yep.
So we probably.
Yeah.
We even saw that in the survey, people that I voted for real off, but Bill did a deal, I'll vote yes. Like,
Yeah.
there were certain comments like that. So
Yeah.
So it's good. We just have to reach out to everyone we can, and I think this is better, having different forms and times and places.
I have one last point that doesn't relate to any of this. Ed Vizella, who's a member of the warrant committee, I don't know how it came to pass that he did this, went and toured the new elementary school in Westwood and said it was spectacular. Just a beautiful building, lots of space, and he thought it would be worthwhile for us, the school building committee, to take a tour of it and see what they had just done in Westwood.
I was there on vacation.
About
Yeah, I did too. I was
About a visit?
Yeah.
Oh, so
For me, but you guys want to come, that's.
Well, I
I should have
actually,
everybody go.
I was, I helped a friend set up a classroom during school vacation week there, so I spent 2 days in the building. So I did ask, because they know I would be in that school if I hadn't retired, so I know the people there. So I did say I'd like to bring the group over to see it. It is quite impressive. So I just wasn't sure, like, at what point we wanted to do that. I'd like to get as many people as we could, to come and.
Yeah, Mills is a good one too, Ackland's a good one to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all good to do a little tour.
All right. Anything else from the group? Chris, you got anything for us?
Yeah, it's so hard sitting here. There's you guys have conversations and specific things along the way that I have to make notes on. I have 10 different things, and each one is 2 seconds long. Most of all, I have to make sure that I express how much I want to see this project succeed. I want to see this group, this committee succeed. I want to see this project succeed. So I just, I loved Denise Garlick's comment about don't question intent. If my intent is true, I want to see this project succeed. I'm going to kind of go backwards here on a couple things. Jeff, I know you mentioned that you did the tour on the lake site in terms of space, but
I didn't do this, there were two members of the Warren Committee did the tour.
well, what I'm saying is that there was a tour that took place, and there was, the argument keeps coming up that we don't have space. But there is data in the MSBA database. They did a capacity analysis, a capacity study, that basically shows that the middle school and the high school is underutilized. So that data is out there. That's a factual bit of information. It may be outdated at this point. It may not. We don't know what went into it, but it is a fact that exists out there. So it wasn't that somebody just made it up and said, okay, that is an actual fact. They're actually going to be doing a new one. I think this fall they put in an RFP, so there'll be new data that shows, all the districts in the state what capacity looks like. I know Future Think also does those kinds of studies, so if that was something that you wanted to add on to the contract, that's another idea. But it's not that somebody just pulled out of the air that
No one said that.
Well, I'm just saying.
No one said it.
I'm just saying that there is data out there that shows it's underutilized.
Mr. Chair,
you know how they you may not know this. This is just me being naive. What is that? How do they judge that? Is that just based on square footage and number of students?
yes.
Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Happy to take the entire committee on a tour for both buildings during the day, so you can see how much space is actually there. Happy to do anything. Okay.
The other thing in terms of modular costs, one thing that just to sort of file away, one of the things that NOSIT did was they actually bought modulars off of Lincoln when Lincoln was done with them, and they got something like 30 plus modulars for $500,000. So I mean, it's just something as some of these other projects like Wellesley and some of the other ones are using modulars. That's just something to file away in terms of there might be some cost savings.
Yeah, when we get to that point, there's certainly options that we
Yeah.
get in. There's probably other options as well.
Sure.
But
I just wanted to mention that when cost comes out, because it's just not absolute. The facility plan, the new facility plan, I don't know if Christine's still on, what the timing of that would be, because I think the update to that is going to be really, really important. Because in the old facility plan, even though so many of the functions were shown to be failing, the superstructure was said to be solid, as you said, Mike. That was one piece.
I mean, it's
of it.
built like a bunker.
Yeah, that was the one piece of it. It was still pretty solid.
It was built as a bunker.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just quickly in terms of the forum, I think that one of the that I'm so happy to hear more of a sort of an early decision making on grade configuration, because the last time around that process of deciding on grade configuration took so long that it actually condensed the time that was available for site selection, which was a shame because I think it stole that time away.
That's actually not true.
I have the timeline there, so it is.
I'm
So
glad you did.
so I think this is really, really good, because once you decide on the grade configuration, it's a lot easier, I think, on the site selection side of things to really, with the forum, to dig into what are the values that parents have about what they want to see in the school. If you look at the MSBA regulations, MSBA actually gives you a really good description of what they see as the ideal in terms of the variables of site selection, the attributes of site selection. And, we don't know whether parents care about any of those specific things, or they balance one or the other more than another. But that's something that our forum could really help to tease out, is what are the values that you hold that are important to you in site selection. And that might help direct, a little bit more toward the specific site. And the only other thing I would just say is things like, the draft letter that were circulated, the Future Think document, like you mentioned in the email that was sent to the committee. It makes a huge difference to have these documents, like the meeting packet posted.
Yeah, so they haven't seen the letter. The email, I mean, is an email, and it's basically you at the last meeting, so that was just basically a recap in my thought process to prep everybody for this meeting. So everything in that email you got, but in general, the letter and the future think, they literally hadn't seen until 7:10 tonight. So, but that will be.
I know, but I'm sitting here and everybody's looking at the letter and I can't.
Well, Rob, I mean,
I'm just saying, it's just.
no, in my defense
I'm
though,
saying
in my
basic-
defense, no one else had it before the meeting.
Okay, but I'm just saying in terms of basic communication, transparency, trying to do.
I
trying
just
to get
think,
documents
Chris,
done.
you're asking for something that nobody else had. And I'm just telling you they didn't.
Would you,
I'm happy to share it with you the minute everyone else
Mike,
agrees
would
with it.
you entertain a motion to adjourn?
No, she's got, if Chris has more, I'd love to, happy to talk
No,
more.
no, thanks, Mike, I'm all done.
And look, I don't mean to be disagreement on that, but that one, honestly, they didn't have it. So that's on me for not them having it. And I appreciate what you're saying, and I do. And if we're gonna present it up here, to have it ahead of time, totally agree. But we didn't present it, we're gonna discuss it next meeting, and then it'll be posted for you. Okay, and just, but I didn't present it, you guys hadn't seen it yet, only the subcommittee had seen it. So,
And just me.
We just didn't even get a chance to really look at it. So.
Yeah.
I didn't pull it up, I mean, I just said it's here, I wanna review it the next meeting, so, but I can get that in the packet, the next one as before we publish it. On your meeting, actually. Anything else? Anything else, Steve or Jeff?
No, thank you. No, thanks.
Motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I got Pete second, you wanna go around?
Peter Michelson, yes.
Mike Weber, yes?
Michelle Crispy, yes.
Robert Worth, yes.
Carolyn Casey, yes.
Bob Meany, yes.
John Cena, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Christine, if you can hear me, can you,
Hey Meredith, go ahead, you wanna say yes?
oh, sorry.
Meredith Chamberlain, yes.